Huston, the question of the self, the person, what am I really, has become, even in science, a very important question today because of the advancement of brain science, which is my old field, has been spectacular. So therefore, this question has become even more important. You've talked about the different religions describing the person on 4 levels: a body, a mind, a soul, and a spirit. I'd like to understand that.
Okay. The body, the 150 odd pounds of protoplasm that can be touched and give us so much joy and so much pain, both. I think we don't have to inform the audience about that. Okay. And then
Now, some people would say that's it. That's the end.
Okay. Well, let's go to mind.
Yes.
Now, even philosophers who deal in philosophy of the mind, let's just take Bernard McGinn as an example, very good. He says, how this little 2 hands full of gray matter that doesn't look much different from the liver, how that can register thoughts and feeling, we have no idea.
And never will.
He adds, and never will. But then he adds, or maybe it's Photo or somebody that adds, if we did know the answer, we probably couldn't understand it. Yeah. Now, I think that's exactly right. And that's what it is true. The advances in brain science, regions for this, that, and happiness, and so on, is really very extraordinary. But it's no reason to think that that's all. In fact, common sense, and now even philosophers of the mind are saying that. So that mind is not the same as brain. Okay. Now, are we ready for soul?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, now all the traditions will say that there is something within us that animates us, and everything that comes from us. You might call it the spark of the divine, as some people do. And all religions have some version of that. And that is the soul.
Now, that differs from the mind.
It differs from the mind because it is, as Plotinus put it, that fountain ever on. It is the fundamental element with us from which everything else proceeds, including mind with its thought.
Mm-hmm. Can the soul exist independent of the mind, or are they always together?
Okay. Interesting question. That's an interesting question. But can we defer that so we don't get off the track
Yes,
and
sir.
talk about spirit?
Yes, sir.
But don't let me off. Come on.
Got it.
Okay. Now, what's the difference between soul and spirit? Soul is the fundamental component of our individuality. That's a pretty wordy definition, but let me put it this will bring it out. In this room, how many are there? Maybe 8 souls, but there's only one spirit.
Oh.
And that's true of all the souls on this planet. It is the one. Now let me come to your question that I table. Can the soul exist independently? Well, in our modern view, we build from the bottom up.
Yes.
But in traditional views, and all traditional views are religious, it's the other way down. It's like we are our spirit, and then there is a kind of encasement which is reductionistic. The same thing is there. Maybe I'll try this analogy. There's a little dust on the lantern, and then spirit, soul, and then mind. There's a little dirt on the lantern, and body. There's quite a bit of mud on it. So causation is from the top down.
So the spirit is one spirit, and
Yeah.
that is, and this is pervasive, and then that individualizes into individual souls?
Yeah. And the one spirit is God is a spirit,
Yeah.
and those who worship him in spirit and in truth. That's the same as the divine.
Now, do each of the major religions express these 4 levels, body, mind, soul, and spirit, in somewhat similar ways?
Well, they all express them, and there is some similarity, but there's also difference. And let me tell you the way my Vedantic teacher in Hinduism, how he put it to me. I apprenticed under him in St. Louis, and I revered the man. I had known wise and learned people, and I had known holy people, but he was the first one that they were absolutely joined. And so for the 10 years I was in St. Louis, I had tutorials, 2-hour tutorial every Thursday morning, 10 to 12. And we were talking about this kind of thing. And he said, Professor Smith, last night when you were asleep but not dreaming, were you aware? And I said, no. Wrong. You were aware. And I said, well, I certainly wasn't aware that I was aware. And he brushed that aside as a throwaway. He said, think of it this way. There are 4 states of consciousness: wake, waking, dreaming, dreamless, and the fourth in our tradition, he said, is simply called the Turiya, the fourth, because it's so far off the charts of our experience, but it's there. And actually, I was to learn later, this is when we're identified with God. But that's so far off the charts of our experience. The first three. Now, he said, we now know, well, the waking and the dream state is obvious to everybody. Only within the last 60, 70 years have we known about dreamless sleep. It has to do with REM, rapid eye movement. And so he came back when you were not aware, there were no REM movement. Were you aware? You say no. I say you definitely were. And as for your retort, you had almost contempt that you weren't aware. He said, think about dreams, how quickly they decant and evaporate. I had to agree with him at that. Last night in this living room, Kendra, my wife, had her monthly dream group, and they deal with that. I don't deal with my dreams, but back to the Swami, he said, you know how quickly they evaporate, and I had to agree. Yes. If I have especially if this is rare, interesting dream that I want to tell Kendra at breakfast, then I have to speak it, describe it in language, and then I can remember it.
Yes, yes.
Now, the Swami said, if it's that difficult to get in touch with your dream state, how much more this dreamless, which is vastly, vastly deeper than the other. And he added, Professor Smith, that state is a state of absolute bliss. If it were not the fact that every night we recharge our batteries by experiencing this total bliss, we just couldn't make it through life. Too many hard knock tragedies, disappointment. Now I'm going to just give this as a freebie to you. When you're going to sleep tonight, just remember you're going to be experiencing absolute bliss before morning.